Just a bit more on that affordable housing thing. I know people like, they get, and I do know, for those of you that think you're going to set the record straight, that Laura Martin did have, home health here and there and stuff. But what I mean is that if you promote a healthy society, you don't have to put people in aging facilities, and you don't have to, people wouldn't have cancer and dementia and the thing now they call lung. Anyway, we won't even go there. But there's natural cures for everything, right? Faber's against. He actually said small farms, and he's like against hippies. He's not into promoting a healthy lifestyle. If you promoted a healthy lifestyle for people instead of trying to poison them with big pharma, then they wouldn't necessarily need people to take care of them. And I don't mean not need people, like good conversation and social. That's great. But the way he worded it about service jobs, it really makes you wonder. I mean, think about it. Why would a greedy government like Port Townsend, who's always raising the sales tax and property tax and making it more expensive for people to rent, they're making it more expensive by what they're doing, their policies. And then they're saying the rent's too high, so we got to create affordable housing. You got to smell a rat here somewhere, right? I mean, what does affordable housing mean? So when you look around at affordable housing, it's like, okay, so if you make $1,000 a month, then they say they take 30% of your income, okay? But if you make $0, you can't get affordable housing, right? You have to have one of their slave jobs. So you have to have a low income job. And the reason I call it a slave job is because, like I said in my last video, money on the internet and the new economy is so big. And that's what the youngins are doing, right? And so they're making hundreds of dollars a day minimum. And Faber wants, like, what are these jobs that he's talking about? 20, 30, even $30 an hour. You can make more online. Remote consulting, videos, just traveling around doing videos, going to the beach every day and talking about your thoughts. Online content is where it's at. It is a new economy. So for Faber to go in the paper and say these retirees are going to need people to service them, it's very elitist. It's very disgusting. Instead of creating places for them to create more content online, create a job that they want, make necklaces or beads, or video themselves painting, video themselves making necklaces. Maybe these guys don't understand the new economy, but that's how it is. So when they say affordable housing, that's reliant on you having a job in their system. And he calls it a service job. They were calling it workforce housing. But calling it a service housing is kind of icky, right? It doesn't promote Port Townsend used to be so cool. And the longer the current people are in the city council, like the art downtown, right? They tax you, and that art thing, I got all the public records on that. I don't know why when I did that like a couple years ago, but nobody likes them. They're ridiculous. They're ugly, and they really make Port Townsend look dumb. They're just a dumb. They don't have any, like, they're not orcas, they're not herons, they're not Victorian. They're just these pieces of wood that, oh, well, if you do the QR code, it's ridiculous. I guess I got off the point here. Affordable housing sounds nice. Free housing sounds better, right? Everybody having free housing. I like the idea of the basic income where even, billionaires down to zero gets it. And people are like, oh, well, who's going to fund it? Who's going to fund it, right? As if, like currency trading, for example. I knew people who made 30% overnight all the time. Banks take your money. They buy insurance portfolios. They invest in currencies overnight. Stocks, a president says, oh, this or that. And then some stock goes way up and other stocks go down. And then they make a regulation change and another stock goes up. People make money every day in all these different ways. So why not build facilities to teach people to have more money and to empower buskers and artists and not be creating this elitist, like, we drink wine and we have like vineyards and art that nobody can stand, and just change Port Townsend and then create service jobs and be like, I'm a do-gooder because I'm creating affordable housing. No, you're creating a society where affordable housing is needed. You're raising the taxes of the landlords. You're making them get permits. You're making them jump through so many hoops and money. And then giving the city manager a raise. I mean, my gosh, the money and the wages and the taxes, right? And then, yeah, the landlord has to raise their rent because to pay their taxes. And then the city's like, the rent's too high, we got to create affordable housing. But they created the monster in the first place. I mean, talk about bait and switch. I mean, think about the Cherry Street housing. Wasn't that like $600,000? Then they just tore it down. Say if they give, I don't know, say they give a $30,000 down payment, say, to 20 people. And then people could have, incentive, be empowered. They're buying their home. They have a down payment and they're moving towards home ownership, or to create affordable housing that's rentals that the city owns, the city can tax and get grants and federal subsidies all the time, is all about the city getting money for the city. And the people who work for the city, they move from county jobs to city jobs. They're the same people year after year after year. It's very incestual and very nepotistic. And they claim to be human rights, but they're only human rights for some that they like. They claim to be, we're into diversity, but they're not into being diverse with their diversity. They're only into who they say meets the criteria of diversity. And so affordable housing in Port Townsend is a ruse. It really would be better to like pick 10 people a year and just flat out give them a down payment. Keeping people down and then calling yourself a do-gooder is not cool and groovy. The buskers that used to be downtown kind of got run out. I've talked to different artists and musicians downtown, and they're like, the city doesn't want them standing here or standing there, right? They sued that one guy, remember the guy with the free speech signs? They took away his First Amendment rights. They, just the weird things, like they'll take away some really cool trees and bushes downtown, like by the Cotton Building or something in the street, and then they'll replant it with some ugly stick, and then they don't take care of it. They don't trim the trees. They don't create anything cool. They've taken everything out of downtown Port Townsend that's neat, and they keep instituting their stupid ugly stuff. So it'd be one thing if they're like, hey, we're creating artist housing and artists can come here and stay for free, and we're creating like grants for this or that, or, they're creating a way that people have to have a service job to get the housing. And you can't afford the taxes to buy a place. You can't buy a place. So it's the super uber wealthy that are buying the places. Like Faber's, what did he look up? He pays like $7,000 a year in tax. His house is taxed at like $877,000 or something. It's worth like $1 million, and over there by the courthouse. I have a photographic memory, and one time I seen the tax thing. Anyway, that was a tangent. The point is that Faber, one day he's going to retire. He's going to need that affordable housing because he's going to need somebody to wipe his goddamn ass. Creating a society where you keep people down so they need affordable housing, and then coming to the rescue. It's like, it's total domestic violence abuse. Everything that the city does, right? They're all like, they're like mean girls and gossipy, and it's total abusive to be like, I'm creating this problem for you. You don't have a place to live, and you can't afford to live, and you got all these problems, and I don't know where those problems came from. I have no idea, but I'm going to create the solution over here, right? They create the problem, then they create the solution, just like in the domestic violence. You get beat up, but then your domestic violence abuser then is your savior. Oh, it's okay. I'll never do it again. And it's okay. I'm going to save you. And I take care of you. And I don't have any idea why those nasty, mean landlords are raising the rent. I have no idea why the cost of living is downtown is so high. I try to buy things at the festivals because I really like the vendors. I can't anymore. It's like 11, 12. The percentage of the sales tax is so high. When you look at an item downtown at like one of those festivals, they have to charge you this big tax. I mean, I shop downtown like once a year. I mean, it's so high a tax. And then they want to do it in the county. So tax you to death and then want affordable housing. I've lost the plot.